U.S. troops arrive in Vietnam. The civil rights movement takes root in the American South. It's 1965. A band called the Beatles experiences a meteoric rise. The Montreal Canadiens win the Stanley Cup. And the Maple Leaf replaces the Union Jack as Canada's flag. That same year, on Canada's west coast, Vancouver Community College, Langara's flagship institution, opens its doors to its first journalism students, a place for idealistic young minds to find their voice.
It was primitive. An upstairs room with a fire escape entrance. There was no internal stairs. 12 students, the 12 who had applied, there was no deciding about who comes in, who doesn't. We just took them all.
He wasn't one of the very first instructors, but Nick Russell is still known as the father of Langara's journalism program because of the structure he imposed on the curriculum and the students. Although he admits it wasn't always just about work.
Warm memories about a lot of people.
Yeah.
And we had good parties back then.
Russell talks through Skype with Langara instructor Rob Dykstra from his home in Victoria, where he enjoys an active retirement. He recalls long days at work.
Fortunately, they didn't have distracted driving rules back then. I had a clipboard on my steering wheel, and I prepared classes coming in the morning and marked assignments going out in the afternoon. And that was my life.
When Russell moved to the University of Regina, Dykstra left an active career as a reporter and editor to take his place at Langara. Over the years, a new campus took shape on 49th Avenue, and in 1994, Langara became an independent institution.
What do you look for there when you go onto Facebook?
During his 30 years at the college, Dykstra helped the department transition through the many changes,
Social media?
while preserving the welcoming atmosphere for both instructors and students.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a great place to be and very stimulating with bright students and bright faculty.
Back when it was establishing its new identity, the college searched for a newspaper name. The short-lived Crest was replaced by the Savant in 1966 and then changed again to the Voice in 1982. There were changes within each incarnation as well, from black and white to color, then to an added online version in 2011.
So this would be really good for the web then?
Yeah.
Langara J School actively changed with the times.
Vancouverites are interacting more and more with the world through their phones. A new study shows that mobile apps with ads, even when they're free, actually use about 80% more network data than ad-free ones.
This is someone who has 300 megabytes of data. I had none to spare.
You do need to pop by sometime if you're in the city and have a look at our new technology.
While they banter over the benefits and drawbacks of the typewriter,
I got Patrick Nagel's Tandy. A Tandy was the very earliest form of portable laptop.
the instructors also ponder the making of a good mentor.
I want to know the secret of your teaching philosophy then, you see.
I had one goal, and that was to see them in a job in the news media somewhere.
Yeah.
And I got a vicarious thrill from seeing those bylines in the paper and turning on the radio and hearing their voices. And I still do.
Yeah.
Before long, the program was bombarded with applications, making it one of the most exclusive journalism schools in the West.
The reputation of the program was so high. It was like getting into like an Ivy League school or something. It was just so fantastic.
The social and political consciousness of the 60s and 70s spurred many a young mind to consider a life in journalism.
I was sort of a child of the Watergate era, which, spawned so many journalists.
Langara would benefit from the idealists of the time, like Globe and Mail national affairs columnist Gary Mason. Mason meets up with fellow Langara grad province reporter Sam Cooper for a frank discussion on J School and beyond.
You have to go in, I think, with the same attitude I did, which is, I want to get out of this thing and I want to change the world. I want to write a story that's just going to blow the lid off of something. I mean, isn't that what floats your boat?
It totally is. In a way, journalism is a physical thing like a sport to me, so that when you get to the front of a story, there's a rush to it and there's a responsibility. So it brings together a lot of the things that I loved in my life, ideally into one job, like sports. You know, on a good day, maybe a little bit of poetry in your story, investigation, truth. That's why I still do it.
Graduating in different decades, Cooper and Mason still agree that the industry has been through both tough and good times.
There's always been a certain amount of doom and gloom talk, and you know, the business, even when I, you know, to the 30 years that I've been in the business, there have been cycles. And, you know, I think there's always going to be these cycles, and there's always going to be a bit of this talk, but there's always going to be journalism, and there's, you know, the newspapers are evolving into this other product. It's going to be in digital form, but there's still going to be people that need it to do that, and there's still going to be, you know, there's still going to be people out there who want a trusted destination for, you know, news.
If you really love it and you're good at it, there'll be jobs. Nikki Glinda, a new intern at the province, told me today, I got a great education for the price of like a used station wagon. Yeah. And I thought that was great.
As the times changed, so did the news.
Best thing about Langara, I mean, and its reputation is for turning out people that can actually go into a newsroom the next day after they graduate and actually, you know, write stuff that can get in a newspaper. It doesn't have to be massively rewritten. And it was like, you know, back in my day, it was just like this pipeline. Langara was the pipeline to, you know, the province, to the Sun, to Canadian Press. I mean, it was just like a factory. How about for you? Was it, you know, what was it like for you?
Exactly the same. The assignments, the writing assignments were like a real news job, and I remember the panic you felt where, you know, I have to do this for this professor, but I have to call this person at 3, and that was the best training for, you know, your first day on the job.
Mine was Ann Roberts' grammar class, was the hardest class I have ever taken in my, and you know, if I see a spelling mistake, if I see a typo, I go, you know what, that's 0 out of 10 right there. Like that stayed with me.
All right, still to come on our show this afternoon, good news from the BC Cancer Agency.
Langara J School grads, CKNW talk show host Simi Sarah and Global National News Director Doriana Temelo went directly into radio and television after finishing the program.
I had a chance to work at the province in the summer, an internship, and I turned it down because I got my job in CKNW.
That is so weird, because that also happened to me. I went to Langara thinking I was going to be a newspaper reporter because that's what they trained us to be, and I loved it. Yeah. And I had worked at the Surrey Leader, and
I worked at the Surrey Leader one summer.
That was me too.
Yeah.
And the same thing though, and I thought, this is it for me. My internship as part of the program was at UTV, and then I never left.
While their career paths share many similarities, they attribute their own versatility to some indispensable skills.
For me, what I notice is how much has changed. Like, while the fundamentals, telling a good story, being accurate, being correct, being fast, making your deadlines, those are the things I learned at school that have not changed.
Wants to cut the tax initiative from $24 million to $24 million.
Well, the basics will get you through anything. And I've noticed that they're still, you know, gone back to Langara a couple times to speak to the students there, and the good thing is they're still learning the basics there.
But the basics encompass so much more these days. Writing, tweeting, shooting, ranting, Snapchatting, and who knows what'll need to be added to the curriculum next week.
I'm going to get a level off Owen here for sports, please. Just give me a sec.
While Langara journalism was primarily a print program, it embraced all forms of media.
That ends, and then the Sonic Boom Festival runs through Sunday.
Even at its inception, there were instructors and students who worked in broadcast news.
Today on Langara News, we're bringing you stories from around Vancouver, Canada, and the world.
Now, on to our top stories.
But as technology changed to include the World Wide Web, those different storytelling platforms became more interchangeable.
You know, you could not predict where your life's going to be.
No.
And try and learn more than one skill. Like when I first started, there were cameramen, there were editors. No one is hired to do just one job anymore.
50 years on, instructors and students will swear the idealism hasn't waned. Langara's graduates instill pride in their instructors, and for the graduates, their alma mater evokes fond memories of an inspirational time and place.
I found my people there. I found people who had the same interests, that we shared the same passions, and you love talking about current events, and that was the first time that I had found people who liked that kind of stuff.
I just absolutely lived and breathed that program. I mean, and we were, if we weren't in the classroom talking about journalism, we were in the bar talking about journalism. It was like one of the best times of my life. You know, it was hard, but it was so intense, and I absolutely loved every minute of it.
It's amazing that it has survived, and it's wonderful that it's survived this long. There have been other journalism programs have come up over the last few years to compete with Langara, but I don't think they really do in terms of producing people who are good as working journalists. There are people in other journalism schools who are good at talking about it, but I don't think they're awfully good at doing it. So that's how I measure the success of the program, and I think it's wonderful. It should go on for another 50.